Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, bread. Who has it and who doesn't has actually been one of the most central determinants of war, peace, progress, and culture in human history, and I actually don't think that that's an overstatement. After all, grains form the basis of money, nation-states, and taxation. They create the conditions for inequality, oppressive hierarchies, and slavery, but also for the flourishing of human beings and the rich cultures and enable the technological marvels that we benefit from today. It is no accident, then, that some of the most famous political moments in all of human history are triggered by that humble loaf. A Roman poet once opined that the best way to placate the masses and prevent revolt was to provide bread and circuses. This political maxim was actually practiced at the time with gladiator-type entertainment and an actual direct distribution of grain. Marie Antoinette, when informed that her subjects were starving and had no bread, was famously quoted as saying, "Let them eat cake." It turns out she didn't actually say that, but it is certainly true that bread riots were a central spark to the French Revolution. Women famously marched on Versailles with makeshift weapons, things like kitchen knives, demanding bread and an end to famine. A failed crop and greedy elites having combined into a revolutionary fervor. And in that extraordinary political text, the Bible, bread also plays a starring role in several crucial stories. Jesus, of course, is said to miraculously feed thousands with just a few loaves of bread. He also proclaims himself to literally be bread, that crucial source of sustenance and plenty, saying, "I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never hunger." Now, bread has never gone out of fashion, though. Its centrality to human existence continues to the present day. The revolutions of the Arab Spring were in part sparked by bread prices. Let's take a look at this. Bread prices were actually up 37% in Egypt, as one example, before the fall of President Mubarak. Matt Stoller points this out in his recent Big Breakdown. Also, modern-day Machiavellian and generally evil practitioner of the dark arts Henry Kissinger himself understands how central bread is to political control, saying, "Control oil and you control nations, control food and you control the people." You should take the time to watch Matt on food prices, by the way. He gives a truly excellent explanation of how monopolies in ag and shipping are destroying family farms and creating higher food prices for you. So with all of this as background, recent headlines paint a really dire portrait. Like this one, for example. Ukraine war threatens to cause a global food crisis. According to this article, a crucial portion of the world's wheat, corn, and barley is trapped in Russia and Ukraine because of the war, while an even larger portion of the world's fertilizers is stuck in Russia and Belarus. The result is that global food and fertilizer prices are soaring. Since the invasion last month, wheat prices have increased by 21%, barley by 33%, and some fertilizers by 40%. Russia and Ukraine are the breadbasket of the world. 30% of all wheat exports come from these two nations, not to mention 17% of corn and 32% of barley. To make matters worse, Russia is also the largest exporter of fertilizer, meaning that the production of farmers around the world will be impacted by what is happening in Ukraine right now and our response to Russia's invasion. All of this has combined into what the executive director of the World Food Program is labeling the worst food crisis since the end of World War II. This is a disaster for working class people all around the globe. But of course, it will be particularly devastating and life-threatening for the very poor, and for countries like Armenia, Kazakhstan, and Mongolia that import nearly all of their wheat from Russia and Ukraine. It's also not hard to imagine how the global knock-on effects of hunger, war, and revolution from increased bread prices could even surpass the brutality and death of the current horrific conflict. In fact, some of these protests have actually already started. In Iraq, the war in Ukraine has helped to trigger protests over food prices. One retired teacher told Al Jazeera, quote, "The rise in prices is strangling us, whether it is bread or other food products." In Sudan, violent unrest has been exacerbated by the increase in costs. In Morocco, protests over price spikes were actually going on even before the war started. Which brings me to the scariest part of this, because it's actually not just war that is fueling price spikes right now. Part of the reason that the war disruptions are proving so devastating is because countries all over the world were already struggling with their crops thanks to the climate crisis. Let's take a look at these headlines. Morocco's domestic crop production was already devastated by a severe drought. Our own farmers in California and elsewhere have been struggling with the same. Meanwhile, in China, severe flooding has compromised their wheat crop. China's agriculture minister actually said this year's seedling situation can be said to be the worst in history. So this world we're experiencing right now as spiking food prices and unrest might just be a preview of what is to come as climate extremes become more and more common. And our political leaders, who could do a lot to ease the pain of this particular moment and prevent a tumultuous future, would do well to learn some of the lessons of Marie Antoinette. Failed crops combined with venal elites have proven to be fertile grounds for revolution. I really think that this issue of food prices, it's very hard to predict.
Hey guys, we're gonna be totally upfront with you. This is the most perilous time that we have ever operated in.
It is so difficult just to try to sort through the news, but even more importantly, to bring you accurate information as this wave of lockdown and censorship spreads across the nation.
Yeah, look, if you can become a premium subscriber today at breakingpoints.com, you're gonna help us build out a vibrant, independent media ecosystem which is free of mainstream pressure. We can't tell you how important that is at a time like this.
Yep, that's right. Go to breakingpoints.com to subscribe. We love you guys and we appreciate you so much.